One believes he narrowly escaped becoming the victim of one of Australia's most notorious serial killers. Stephen Clark says he was just a teenager when he and a friend were hitchhiking. Speeding car suddenly slammed on his brakes, offered them a ride. The moment they got inside, it fell on. Clark recalls the driver accelerating before they had even closed the door. During the trip, the stranger repeatedly questioned them about who knew they were hitchhiking and whether anyone knew where they were headed. Yet, they asked him about himself. He refused to even share his name. Their lives may have been saved by chance. Police noticed the vehicle speeding and pulled it over, issuing the driver a ticket. Clark says the man's behavior immediately changed. Instead of continuing wherever he had planned to take them, he dropped the teenagers off where they had originally expected to go. Before leaving, Clark caught a brief glimpse of the speeding ticket. He only remembers the driver's first two initials, INV. Years later, while watching television news, Clark froze. The man on the screen was Ivan Milat, the serial killer eventually convicted of murdering 7 young backpackers in Australia between 1989 and 1992. Milat abducted, assaulted, and murdered young hitchhikers traveling between Sydney and Melbourne. Their bodies were later discovered in Bludgeoning State Forest, a place that would become infamous around the world. His victims included travelers from Germany, Britain, and Australia. Investigators, however, have long suspected the true number of victims may be much higher. Australian authorities have reopened inquiries into numerous cold cases stretching back to the 1970s, examining whether Milat may have been responsible for additional disappearances. Among those cases is 15-year-old Kate Turley, who vanished while hitchhiking in 1979, on the very same road where Stephen Clark was picked up. A retired British detective also believes 20-year-old Karen Rowland, who disappeared in 1971, may have been Milat's first victim. The 7 murders for which Milat was convicted remain among Australia's most disturbing crimes. The victims were all backpackers. Some were traveling alone, others were with friends. Investigators found their bodies buried in shallow graves in Belangolo State Forest. The victims had been bound, stabbed, beaten, shot, or otherwise brutally murdered. Authorities believe Milat was able to evade justice for decades despite numerous warning signs. In the early 1970s, he faced charges involving 2 teenage hitchhikers, but ultimately avoided conviction after legal proceedings collapsed. Some investigators and public officials believe systemic failures and possibly other factors allowed him to continue offending for years without being stopped. The breakthrough came thanks to one survivor. In 1990, British backpacker Paul Onions accepted a ride from Lot during the trip. He noticed a gun inside the vehicle, realized he was in danger. He managed to escape, running for his life, while Milat allegedly chased and fired shots at him. Although police initially failed to act on his report, everything changed years later. The aliens saw news reports about bodies being discovered in the Bungalow State Forest. He contacted Australian authorities from the United Kingdom and returned to Australia to testify. His eyewitness account became a crucial part of the prosecution's case. In 1996, Ivan Milat was convicted and sentenced to 7 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, along with additional convictions related to the attack on Paul Onions. Milat died in prison in 2019 at the age of 74 after battling cancer. Even near the end of his life, investigators tried unsuccessfully to persuade him to confess to other unsolved crimes. He never did. Many investigators believe the full extent of his crimes may never be known. Former detectives have described Ivan Milat as Australia's first serial killer, saying he denied responsibility until his final days, leaving many families still searching for answers. Like, share, and subscribe.